Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about HubSpot. If you're hustling in the trenches to build a business or bootstrapping one of your own, let's talk about an AI-powered tool that can lighten up your workload a bit. HubSpot's Campaign Assistant is a game changer for creating marketing campaigns at scale. It quickly turns your key selling points into a cohesive pitch, which helps you deliver knockout emails, ads, and landing pages in minutes. So let Campaign Assistant take care of the campaigns so you can get back to growing your business. Work smarter, not harder at HubSpot.com/campaign-assistant.
Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, August 22nd. I'm Ben Berkley here with Sara Friedman, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Today, we're going to talk about the rise of luxury ice. Americans are cooling off in style with high-end ice cubes. Where did this trend come from? I'm going to give you a guess. It's TikTok predominantly, but there's some other areas too. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. But first, let's talk about what else is happening in the world of business and tech. Meta is upping accountability for its back-to-office plans, threatening termination for any hybrid employees who do not turn up in person 3+ days every week. I will note that as someone who is recording this podcast from the comfort of my own home alongside another person who is doing the same, this is a pretty scary development here.
Yeah, agreed, Ben. I don't like the sound of that. And I would add to this, to make matters even scarier, I have been seeing some reporting that says Meta employees have been complaining about a dwindling lack of menu options. They're becoming less robust, especially in the snack and cereal sections. So I think that really adds to the pressure here. And once they're down to like those little cups of shelf-stable creamer, it's really going to turn into a crisis.
I'm so nervous for them. I will say, as someone who only has one cereal option at my home office, it is just real touch and go. So wishing them the best. We'll also just note here that employees can actually gain approval to work fully remote for the company. According to Insider, Meta's now going to really be exceedingly rare with hiring fully remote roles, and only workers who have 18 months served in the company and have pristine performance reviews will be able to apply for an exemption to this 3-day-a-week mandate. Let's move on to a little bit more Meta news. There will be a web version of its X/Twitter rival, Threads, and that is expected to roll out sometime this week. My biggest interest in this is I'm just glad as they are resetting the in-office standard, I feel like you really need to give people a better way to kind of fritter away the day. And now by having their employees able to access Threads on a desktop, I feel like that's just at least going to make their days go a little bit quicker as they're munching on one cereal.
Yeah, that sounds like a fair trade.
Let's move on to AI, which is a topic that we can never go a day without talking about. Singapore topped LinkedIn's list of the fastest countries to adopt AI skills. That said, this is a little bit of a slightly less scientific study here. This is calculated by the share of LinkedIn members in 25 countries who are adding AI skills to their profiles.
LinkedIn patterns have been hinting at this since 2022, and skills like question answering have grown 332% on the platform. I'm not sure. Question answering sounds pretty straightforward, but it's hinting at a ChatGPT-centric future, I think.
Back to the US for a second. If you're looking to buy a car in America, expect to pay up. Once you could find cars under $20,000 at pretty much any dealership, now we are down to just one model that is priced under $20K, and that is the Mitsubishi Mirage. One thing we should also note, that is also expected to be discontinued. So it's going to get even more pricey pretty soon at the car dealership.
I feel like that probably explains why I'm getting so many PR pitches about electric scooters.
Also, I would really recommend that because the average new car cost in the States right now is up around $48,000. And it's probably going to keep climbing. So, Sara, get on board with one of those scooters.
Will do.
One other news item out of Nintendo. where Mario and Luigi voice actor Charles Martinet is retiring after 25 plus years as the voice of the iconic characters. He will become Nintendo's Mario ambassador, and he will travel the world sharing, quote, the joy of Mario.
Ben, I have to admit, I think I'm one of the only 90s kids who didn't grow up playing Mario Kart. This is like a pivotal part of 90s childhood.
I guess this is probably also why you're being targeted for scooter ads, because you're not tempted into the go-kart world as the rest of us are. And then one last thing before our top story. If you need a reminder to change your passwords, we've got you covered today. A former NBA employee slammed the basketball league on its own Facebook page on Monday morning, claiming that it expects its social media staff to work 14-hour shifts without breaks and to do so all for less than $50K take-home pay every year.
Yeah, leaving the keys to the kingdom with their social media manager. This is what can go wrong, and it did.
On our next episode, we will play Mario Kart while watching basketball highlights. But for now, let's bond over our top story today, which is luxury ice. A few months back, I was visiting my friends in the Pacific Northwest. They offered up some ice cubes from their freezer. They unveiled this special shelf in their freezer. It contains dozens of perfectly spherical, almost like baseball-sized deluxe ice cubes. And this appliance just changed my view on these people who I've known forever. Suddenly, I realized they've just eclipsed me in coolness. And I do mean that both literally and figuratively here. That is the luxury ice experience. So, Sara, can you tell us more about this trend and where it came from?
Yes, this has been getting more and more popular. I will say that the appliance company Bosch surveyed Americans in 2020, and already back then, 51% of them reported themselves as ice obsessed. So we were laying the groundwork here for what's going on. But this is all over social media, and there are a lot of different companies in the space. There's a company called Disco Cubes that makes custom ice cubes that are actually ridiculously beautiful to just be frozen water. They can be etched or filled with fruit and flowers. You could have a company's logo etched on it, all sorts of stuff. It's becoming like a new hot party favor, I'd say.
So you said this is all over social media. Where did this really come from?
I mean, I think the answer is two-pronged. One is the pandemic, I believe, is really at play here. Bars were closed. We were all at home obtaining weird new hobbies. So I think a lot of people were kind of dabbling with ice and these different things as a pandemic hobby. I think the other part of this, of course, I feel like everything we talk about stems from social media, particularly TikTok. The hashtag Ice Talk alone has 1.5 billion views. And it's everything from literally just people with beautiful shaped ice restocking their freezers to powder ice recipes, which, spoiler alert, it's still just frozen water, but in a powder form. Yeah, I would say social media is definitely at play here. And it's summer. People are hot. Ice looks good.
So my friends have this freezer that has this craft ice capabilities. Are there a lot more other devices coming out, appliances that are really catering to this crowd?
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of social media, one that is very popular is GE has a nugget ice maker. It starts at $500. So these are not small investments, but that's a type of ice people feel very passionately about. There's an ice ball press starting at $1,000 and literally is just a copper press that creates clear ice spheres. And then LG even has developed refrigerator models that have what they call craft ice capabilities. So if you have, ascended to the next level of ice making, you can have this built right into your fridge.
We are, as that Bosch survey said, we're just ice obsessed. Because if I remember correctly, Starbucks said they're going to change their ice. How did that go over?
It was a little dicey. So they announced that they were switching to nugget ice, which is exactly the type of ice that GE machine produces. And customers were all over the place. Some of them loved it. Some felt passionately that it would ruin their drinks. But I think the overall message is that people care a lot about ice.
Well, we today at least join them in that. And that's going to actually do it for our show today. Thank you for tuning in to the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email. We'll see you tomorrow.
Let me tell you about a show that I've been loving lately. It's called Entrepreneurs on Fire. It's hosted by the incredible John Lee Dumas. It's available now on the HubSpot Podcast Network. Entrepreneurs on Fire stokes inspiration and shares strategies to fire up your entrepreneurial journey and create the life that you've always dreamed of. I'm a big fan of this podcast. It has energy, it has value, and it's all about learning about entrepreneurship. I was just listening to an episode the other day. JLD interviewed Jay Rogers, who was such a wealth of information. He kind of went into how entrepreneurship chooses you. You don't necessarily choose it, and that failure only happens when you stop trying to win. A lot of gems in this one, so I highly recommend checking out that particular episode along with the rest. So go listen to Entrepreneurs on Fire wherever you get your podcasts. Hey guys, if you listen to the Hustle Daily Show on Google Podcasts, we want to let you know that the option will no longer be available pretty soon. Google is sunsetting its podcast app sometime in early 2024 in favor of YouTube Music, and we want to give you a heads up before it's too late since that time's almost here. The Hustle Daily Show is available everywhere and anywhere that you listen to podcasts like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're using YouTube Music, we are there as well. If you're an Android fan, there are plenty of apps like Overcast, Pocket Casts, Player FM, and more. So just search for us wherever you decide to listen to your favorite podcasts.